Hi guys, my name is Rose and I'm going to cover Chapter 9 about visual media in business communication today. We'll go over some of the learning objectives that shows over here. There should be 6 of them, explaining some of the, and explaining and illustrating, and then how the common options of the information concepts and ideas, and the 3 criteria to review the quality of your visuals, and important considerations about the pre-productions, productions, and post-productions when producing basic business videos. Understanding visual communications. This chapter will help you appreciate the power of images and the 3 evolutions in visuals and business communications, and then explain how to identify points in your messages to illustrate, how to select the best visual for each of those points, and then how to create effective visuals in Medium, from memos to report to the website pages and electronic presentation, as well as how to produce basic business videos. The power of images. Visual attracts and holds people attention by helping them understand and remember your message. A busy reader often jump to visual to try to get the gigs of a message, and attract visual can draw readers deeper into your reports and presentations. Pictures is also an effective way to communicate with diverse audience that are common in today's business environment. And many colors, shapes, and other designs elements have visual symbolism. So their symbolic connotative meaning can evolve over time and mean different things to different people or cultures. Being aware of these symbolic meanings and using them to your advantage are important aspects of effective communication. The visual evolution in business communication is the process of creating and working with visual elements. Used to be the domain of experts with complex and expensive tools. But now the digital technology has changed this situation. And so while technology has placed visual design and production in the hands of everyday business communication in recent years, audience skills and expectations have been evolving as well. The U.S. government research indicates that only half of the adult population in the U.S. has the reading skills necessary for success in today's workplace. Visual could play a vital role in communicating with audiences who may have trouble understanding written messages. Technology has multiplied ways in which communicators can create visuals, and people are living in a more visual media saturated environment. So evidence may expect messages to be more visual. Visual designing principles. It has the 6 fundamental principles. They are consistency, contrast, balance, emphasis, conventions, and simplicity. Under consistency, you can achieve visual parallelism through the consistency of color, shape, texture, position, scale, and typefaces. Under contrast, to emphasize similarities, you can use more subtle colors. And under balances, you can it'll be under formal or informal. Formal, in which elements in the images are arranged systematically and symmetrically, and informal, which is stronger, weaker elements are arranged in which such a way that achieves an overall balance. Emphasis. Under emphasis, make sure that the visually dominant element really does represent the most important information and visual downplay less important items. Under convention, many conventions are so ingrained in a given culture that people do not even realize they are following them. Simplicity will be to furthermore avoid chart junk. Example, decorative element that clutter documents without adding relevant information. The ethics of visual communication. There are few things to consider. You can work to avoid ethical lapses in visual by following these guidelines. Consider all possible interpretation, provide appropriate visual context, be careful how you aggregate data, don't conceal negative information, don't imply cause and effect, don't oversimplify complex situations, don't exaggerate support information, avoid manipulation or coercion. The summary of this is the follow, and then we're going to go over identifying points to illustrate, which is explain how to choose which points in your message to illustrate. Then deciding where to use visuals as parts of the message to complex. These are the information that you have to recheck and ask yourself the questions. So because if you do this and you have answer any of these questions yes, then you will have to use one or more visuals. Using the ethics of you will have to follow the 5 C's when deciding which points to represent visually. Make sure that you're clear. The human mind is adept to processing visual information, and make sure it's concise. You have probably heard the phrase of a picture worth 1,000 words. If particular sections of your message seem to require extensive description or explanation, perhaps you can find a way to convey the information visually. Under complete, visual complete provide details to support recommendations or key ideas. Connected, a key purpose of many messages show the connections of some sort, like similarities or differences, cause and effects, and relationship. And when you want readers to see such connections, try using a chart, diagram, or the illustrations. Compelling. Your readers live in a highly visual world, so well illustrations make your message more persuasive, more interesting, and more likely to get read. You should avoid inserting visuals simply to decorate purposes. Her summary for that we just cover, and then we'll go over selecting visuals for presenting data, which describes the most common options for presenting data in visual format. And then this graph right here is a part of a table. The part of the table, well, when you have to represent detailed specific information, and you really have to use tables because it is a systematic arrangement of data in column and rows. This table ideal when the audience needs the information that would be either difficult or tedious to handle in the main text. Most tables contain the standard parts illustrated here. Preparing data tables. When preparing data tables, many tables are strictly numerical, and when you're preparing such tables, observe the following, like use the common understandable units and clearly identify them, such as dollars, percentage, or price per ton. You can express all items in all column and the same unit and round off for simplicity. If doing so, when it eliminates in essential details. Label column heading clearly and use subheading if necessary. Line and surface chart is actually commonly used to show trends over time and the relationship of two or more variables. In line chart showing trends, the vertical y-axis show the amount, and then the horizontal x-axis will show the time or other quantity against which the amount is being measured. Under the surface chart and area chart is a form of a line chart with a cumulative effect. All the lines add up to the top line and which represent the total. Average count temperature, North Island facilities, day shift. This one shows the need to compare two or more sets of data. You can plot them on the same chart, for instance, visual comparison. And then there's a line chart trends and a vertical y-axis show the amount, and then the horizontal x-axis shows the time or other quantity against the amount is being measured. 2 or 3 lines on a single chart are usually easy to read. Home game ticket sales. This kind of chart has the surface and area, and this has the cumulative effect. All the lines add up to the top line, and then which represent the total. This form of charts helps illustrate changes in the composition of something over time. When preparing charts, put the important segment against the baseline and artist the number or abstract to 4 or 5. Using bar charts portrays number by height or length of its rectangular bars and making a series of numbers easy to read or understand. And you want to make sure that it compares size of several items, show changes over time in one item, show composition of several items, and show relative components of a whole. COMMUNICO staff computer skills shows the type of charts represent singular and about the computer skills. COMMUNICO prepared communication media. This chart is an example that illustrates segmented the employee training cost. And this chart right here is an example that illustrates deviations about the stock price. This blue chart right here is for the employee training cost. This is represent the combinations of the employees' cost on their training. And then this variation on bar charts, actually it's just an explanation of pictogram and timeline charts, which is pictograms is a novelty and ability to convey a more literal visual message, and timeline charts is ability to show how much timeline is needed to complete each task on a project. Scatter and bubble diagram. If you need to compare several entities like companies, markets, and so on by 2 variables such as revenue and profit margin, we could use the scatter diagram that is also known as XY diagram. With the XY diagram, the axis along the x-axis and another along the y-axis. The bubble diagram expands 3 variables like this one, with the size of the bubbles representing the 3rd variables, And the bubble diagram showed three variables like the x, y, and plus the diameter of a bubble. In this case, the rate of revenue is plotted on the x-axis, and then the profit margin is on the y-axis. Using pie charts. Using pie charts is commonly used for showing how the parts of a whole is distributed. Although pie charts are popular and can quickly highlight the dominant part as a whole. And the charts or tables, they're not often effective. Pie charts is less effective than the tables. For example, comparing percentage accurately difficult with pie charts, but can be fairly easily with a bar chart. Employment distribution by corporate functions. Here's the example of a bar chart that is easy to, that assemblers are the largest employee category right here. This is just assembler. And then the sales, engineer, admin, and shipping are not easy to make because they lower percentage. And then that's how you illustrate it on a numerical rather than a visual comparison. That's the contrast to give the quick visual comparison of every data point. Using data visualization, it's actually can overcome all the drawbacks. This one will do the limited in several ways. Most type can show only limited number of data points before becoming too cluttered to interpret. And unlike charts and graphs, data visualization is less about clarifying individual data points and more about extracting broad meaning from giant masses of data or putting the data in context. So, for example, a tag cloud shows the relative frequency terms or tag in an article, blog, website, survey data, or other collections of text. Tag cloud, here's the example. It's a relative frequency of terms or tags in a sample text taken from the chapter. And then here's we just reached the summary, and we go over the selecting visuals for creating information concepts and ideas, which will describe the most common options for presenting an information concept. And flowchart, it shows the report writing process. Well, you have to, there's a keyboard, you could do edit, you could do add, or you could do some style and spelling, and then first hard copy, you can edit it also. And keyboard will shows all that process, forms, and by orders. So in organization chart, the chain of command, this chart illustrates the position, units, or functions in an organization and the ways in which they interrelate. Organization chart can be used to portray almost any hierarchy, such as topics, subtopics, and supporting points needed for the organization report. Using map is pretty simple. When using maps, it's useful for showing location, distance, points, and interest, and geographic distribution of data. Drawing diagrams and photographs. This will show that simple drawing can show the networks of supplies and suppliers and industry of the process for completing payroll each week, and it'll the drawing and the photographs. They consider whether the diagram would be more effective than photographs, and they can learn how to use basic image processing function, and then observe copyright and model permissions. Make sure that that you are allowed to reproduce their copyrighted, because sometimes there's like restrictions to it. Using infographics. Infographics are a special class of diagrams that can convey data as well as concepts or ideas. This will show the second type and first type, which even the point or placing conventional reports, and they contain enough visual and textual information to functions as independent standalone documents. And then we have the summary of producing and integrating visual is the next. Producing an integral visual will show you the order to verify the quality of your visuals. Creating visuals, whether you're using the chart functions offered in a spreadsheet or the design features of a specialized graphics programs, you have to be familiarize yourself with the software and design templates, style and quality, subject and situations. Integrating visual with text. In most cases, in a document, visual must be tightly integrated with the text, and successful integration involves 4 decisions such as balance the text in visual, refer to the visuals, place visuals carefully, use the title, captions, and legends. Verifying the quality of your visuals. You have to make sure that you cover the 3. Make sure that you have actually, if it is absolutely accurate, properly documented and honest. And then visual media on mobile devices, whether it's a training video or interactive big data tool or GIS system used for on-site analysis. More and more employees need to consume visual media on smartphones and tablets. And then the summary that we just did. Then we'll go over producing business videos, where it changes the production stages of producing basic business videos and some of the important. And step 1, remember we just mentioned the pre-productions. Make sure you check to verify the purpose of the scope and consider the composition of your screen. Scenes, decide where you will place the cameras, plan your lighting for your video, and make arrangements for sound recording, and create a host, list full scripts if needed, and identify and collect B-roll material. And step 2 is about the productions. Make sure that frame each of the shots carefully, keep the camera still while filming, capture B-roll footage for later use, don't use the camera as special effects. And then lastly, post-production, where you have to do that transferring footage, evaluate your material, and move sections to the video, so on. So now, this concludes my visuals, and this conclude our discussion of Chapter 9 Visual Media. And again, my name is Rose, and thanks you for tuning in.